Until now, we have configured several built-in plugins available in the Ktor framework like authentication, routing, serialization, and all of this. But what if we need a custom plugin for a specific use case? Let's consider a scenario where we need to add a specific header to the responses of the all routes. So let's suppose we have bunch of routes and we want to be able to add a specific header to response of all these routes. So one way to do this is by manually adding something like call.response.header. But that would be repetitive and hard to maintain since we might forget to add this before sending the response. So instead we can create a custom header plugin that automatically adds this header to all the responses like the responses of the all the routes that we have defined in the routing. So for that, we can simply head over to the plugins package and create a new Kotlin file and name it custom header. Within this class, we can simply create a class custom header. To add a particular header in a response, we need both key and the value for the header. So for that, we can simply define a class for configuration. So our configuration will contain both the key and the value for headers. Header key, and we need to define a default value of the headers, and for value we can have var header value, and we can simply have value as default value. The first step of defining custom plugin is by defining a configuration class. We can pass this configuration in the constructor, so we can say configuration of type this configuration. Now we can refer to the key and value of this configuration using the private property. So we can say private val header key equals configuration dot header key, and we can do same for the value as well. So say private val header value equals configuration dot header value. Now the next step is to define a object. So we can say companion object and we can name it as plugin. Can extend this object to base application plugin. If you hover over here, it takes a pipeline configuration and the plugin. So for pipeline, we can specify application call pipeline. And for configuration, we have this class configuration. So we will simply say configuration. And for the plugin, we have defined it as custom header. So we'll say custom header. Now we can say control I and implement this. Ktor requires key to identify the various plugins. So we need to set the key for our custom plugin. So we can simply say attribute key. We have defined the custom plugin class as custom header. So we can say custom header, and for name we can simply use the name as custom header. We can get rid of this and we can simply say key equals this. Now if we check this install function, it basically has the parameter as application call pipeline and a lambda with receiver and receiver of type configuration. So within the lambda block we can simply say header key equals to the key that we want to set and the header value as the value we want to set. Now the return type is of type custom header. So in order to return the custom header object from this install function, first thing what we need to create a object of custom header is this configuration object. So for that we can simply create a configuration equals, and we can say configuration dot apply and pass in this configure lambda with receiver. So this will create a configuration object with the key and the header that we had passed while installing the plugin. Now we can simply create an instance of custom header. So let's say plugin equals custom header, and it takes configuration. So we can pass the configuration. Now we have created the instance of custom header, and we can simply say return plugin. So first we create the configuration based on the configuration that we provide while installing the plugin. After that we created the instance of this plugin, so custom header, and we simply return. Now within this we need to also modify the header. So for modifying the header we can simply use the pipeline. We are getting it as a parameter, so we can say pipeline dot, and we can call the intercept function, and within this intercept function we need to pass the pipeline phase. So the pipeline phase for this will be application call pipeline dot, we can say plugins, and within this lambda we can simply say call dot response dot header, and we can specify the key as plugin dot header key and the value as plugin dot header value. So we created our custom header plugin. Now to install this plugin we can simply say function application dot configure custom header. Now to install we can simply use the install function and pass the plugin as custom header. Now within this configuration block we can simply set our header key as, and we can simply set header value as well. So header value equals, now whatever key and value we set here will be set in response of each routes that we have defined in the routing. We can simply call this configure custom header within our application module function. So within this function we can simply say configure custom header. Since we already have few routes, so now let's try it out by running. Now if we make request to this high path and if we check the header, as you can notice we get both the key and the value that we had set in this install custom header configuration. So key is x powered by, as you can notice, x powered by, and the value is Ktor custom plugin. We'll get same for other routes as well. So if we make the request to hello route as well, we get the same header. So let's see the overall flow one more time. So if you hover over this install and check, it will basically refer to this object. So this part, plugins object, and within this plugin we set the key and the install function. So this will directly jump over here, and within this install function we get the access to this configure block. So whatever we set it over here, using that we create the object for this configuration. Using this configuration we simply created a object for this custom header. So we said plugins equal custom header and passed the configuration, and we simply return this plugin. Now in between this we want to intercept and add a header, so we simply use the pipeline and call the intercept function, and we pass the pipeline as plugins, and we simply intercepted this. So this is how we can create our own custom plugin. So that should be it for this video. Thanks for watching and happy coding.